Hello and welcome to another update. In this one, I'll be covering the Bakhmut front, as there's a bunch of news here to report on. We can see here in the south of Bakhmut, we see that the Russian forces have managed to advance here to the south of the city, and they have entered the residential area to the southwest next to the cemetery, which I have earlier reported on that the Wagner PMC has controlled, but it was later shown that they have reached it, but they haven't actually entered it. Here in the southeast of Bakhmut, we see that the Russian forces have advanced further into the Damba River and also here to the western area of it, which allows them to advance and have fire control over the dam, which goes between the east and the west of the Bakhmutovka River. This will allow the Wagner PMC to further advance to the south of the city after they manage to control all of the eastern part of the residential area of Bakhmut, where they have made a significant advance earlier today. As we can see here, they've captured most of the rail station here to the east, as well as all of the high-rise buildings, the art winery, and so on. All of these areas, which are very important on the eastern part of the residential area, have been taken by the Wagner the past 24 hours. As well as here to the north, where they have isolated this industrial settlement here to the northeast of Bakhmut. And they have captured most of the residential area to the northeast as well, leaving only this part of the rail station left for the eastern part. And then there's a lot of residential areas and there's a university here. So the reason for this significant advance both to the northeast and the east of the Bakhmut city is, according to Syriac maps, that the Ukrainian forces have actually mostly left the eastern bank of the Bakhmutovka River over the past 2 weeks, which I earlier mentioned is the most likely thing for them to do, as it is necessary for them to fall back, as their position into the east of the river line has been compromised with the recent Russian advances, but also with the blowing up of multiple bridges across the river line and the Russian advance to the north and northwest of the city, which endangers them and puts them in a position where they can easily be encircled. So for once, they've actually listened and pulled back across the river line, and now the Russian forces will most likely capture the rest of the residential area to the east of the Bakhmutovka River within the next couple of days, as they make sure that there's no Ukrainian soldiers left behind so that they get ambushed. There is still the possibility of this industrial area having Ukrainian soldiers, and it will take a long time for this to be cleared, as there are tunnels underground in this industrial area, similar to Soledar. Although they captured Soledar, it took them over a week to clear out the underground tunnels. So we'll see the same here, where they will take a couple of days just to clear the underground tunnels under these industrial areas. As for the northwest of the city, we now see that the Russian forces have also advanced in this part, according to the latest update by Deep State Maps. We can see here that they are very close to the road, as well as to Khomove, here to the south. And in my earlier report, I mentioned that they were going in the direction of Bakhmutovka, which could indicate that they would go westwards and include Jasov Yar in the encirclement. But it now seems that they will most likely go for a full encirclement of the city by cutting off the roads from the very start of the city. I also mentioned that there was this road here that connects Ivanivske to Kharmove. However, if the Russian forces advance in this area, which they currently are, they'll be able to cut off this road from the very source instead of having to go all the way down southwest. So this could indicate that they are going to entrench themselves in this western area as they continue their envelopment of the city and complete their encirclement. Or they could do both at the same time, attacking westwards and southwards. It depends on how many soldiers they have in reserve. But considering that the Ukrainian forces have left the Bakhmutovka river line, that means that the Russians can leave a few soldiers here on the east, which would allow them to present more to the southern part specifically, but it could also be towards the northern part, where they then can reinforce their offensive operations here in this area, rather than defending this part here, as it will be light to defend it, as there's the river line going through, which will allow them to have a strong defensive position. They can entrench themselves on the eastern bank. So the current situation is that the Russian forces are now only, considering that they have to reach this part of the road, they are 1.8 kilometers from full encirclement to the north, and only 400 meters to the south west of the city. With this, we can see that the Russian forces are very close to completely encircling the city and already have fire control over every single route in and out of the city. Now, I am also testing some new feature here on the mapping. We can see here that I have updated the different parts according to the territory, as well as I found 3 geolocations here. And I have found out that you can add pictures to these. So now there's a picture of the geolocation, and you can see here the Deep State logo. And we can see that there are 3 geolocations here in the northern area of Bakhmut. These are all from the same source, as a Russian war correspondent went to the front line here to the north of Bakhmut and recorded a lot of interviews and so on with the Wagner PMC yesterday. So with that information, we see that they have geolocated multiple locations of those videos, as the war correspondent went further south as he went on. And we can see here by the mapping that these are the locations that have been mapped out according to the geolocation. So you can, when you check out the map, which the link is always in the description for, you can go and see all the geolocated areas. I have just started doing it, so not all areas have it. And this is going to make me take extra time when I report. However, we can see now that this is actually something that can be helpful, not just for me, but for you as well. So that is the new feature that I'm trying out. See here as well the screenshot from the Deep State mapping, showing this advance here to the south. So generally, this is going to be a new part of my updates. So that is going to be all for this update. And if you want to see more of my content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a great day.